Ladies and gentlemen, have no fear. Fear is the assassin of ambition. It whispers lies in your ear. It paralyzes the dreamers. It shackles the courageous. But let this be the day you rise above it. Not tomorrow, not some day today. Every person who ever achieved greatness first had to look fear in the face and say, "You will not define me." The mountain you're afraid to climb is hiding your next breakthrough. The door you fear to knock on is holding the opportunity of a lifetime behind it. Understand this: fear is not real. It is a shadow, cast by doubt, grown by hesitation, fed by inaction. When you move forward with purpose, fear has no power. When you act with faith in your ability, fear shrinks and disappears. The people who win in life are not fearless. They feel fear, but they do not stop. They use it. They transmute fear into fuel. They keep their minds fixed on the goal. They do not let the opinions of the weak or the noise of the world drown out the voice of their mission. You were not born to crawl. You were not designed for mediocrity. There is a fire inside you. Fan it, feed it, free it. So today I tell you, have no fear. Have faith in the vision. Have faith in your action. Have faith in the invisible power that responds to boldness, decisiveness, and persistence. The future belongs to the doers, the builders, the believers. Let it be you. Fear is a liar. It only exists when you hesitate to act. It creeps in when your mind begins to doubt, when your will begins to waver, and when you let the opinions of others hold more weight than your own inner conviction. Fear feeds on stillness, on indecision, on silence. But make no mistake, fear is not a force that controls you. It is a shadow, a ghost, a thing that vanishes the moment you step into motion. It cannot survive the presence of purpose, and so I say to you, have no fear. You were not born to sit quietly while the world passes you by. You were not made to shrink in the presence of challenge. There is a power in you that is greater than any fear you've ever felt. The only reason fear seems real is because you've listened to it for too long. You've believed it when it whispered that you weren't ready, that you weren't strong enough, that you'd fail. But here's the truth: failure is not the enemy, fear is. Because fear will keep you from even trying. Every person you've admired, every hero you've looked up to, every builder of dreams you've ever studied, none of them were without fear. They simply chose to move forward despite it. They learned to walk with fear at their side and never let it take the lead. That is courage, not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it, the bending of it into something useful. When you act boldly, fear begins to work for you. It sharpens your focus. It heightens your sense of urgency. It reminds you that you are alive and in motion, chasing something that matters. You see, the very presence of fear is a signal. It means you are on the edge of something meaningful, something that matters deeply to your spirit. That trembling you feel is not weakness. It is energy, potential. It is the raw material of greatness, waiting to be forged into something unshakable. But it only transforms when you act, when you speak. When you take the step, fear loses its grip the moment you decide that your vision, your dream, your purpose are more powerful than your hesitation. There is no growth without resistance, no progress without pressure. The obstacles that make you doubt yourself are the very things that will shape you. They are not in the way, they are the way, and fear, it only gets loud when you are getting close to the truth of who you are. It wants to distract you from your calling because it knows how powerful you'll be once you stop listening. So have no fear. Do not wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions. They do not exist. What exists is now, and now is always the time to act. When you move with intention, when you commit fully, fear cannot follow you. It is too weak for the speed of purpose, too slow for the pace of faith. You were built for more than just survival. You were built to rise, to lead, to create, to break through the noise of doubt and leave a mark that cannot be erased. Let this be the day you stop negotiating with fear. Let this be the moment you decide that nothing, not doubt, not delay, not fear itself, will keep you from the life you are meant to live, because the future does not belong to the hesitant. It belongs to the bold. And that boldness lives in you. Have no fear and move your next break through lives behind the fear you avoid. That fear you feel of failing, of being judged, of not being good enough, is not there to stop you. It is there to test your resolve. It stands between who you are and who you are meant to become. Too many people see fear as a sign to stop, as a wall too high to climb. But in truth, fear is a compass. It points directly to the place where growth happens. If you avoid it, you remain the same. If you face it, you evolve. The very thing you're afraid of is likely the next step in your transformation. Whether it's starting a business, speaking your truth, changing careers, or finally believing in yourself, it is always that one fearful decision that leads to freedom. And yet, so many stand frozen, not because they are weak, but because they have forgotten what they are made of. You are not fear. You are strength, intelligence, power, and persistence. Fear may speak, but it does not speak truth. It speaks only from the past, from old wounds, from the opinions of others who never dared to try. The breakthrough you seek, the next level of your life, is waiting just beyond the thing you're avoiding, that uncomfortable conversation, that bold idea you keep pushing aside, that leap you tell yourself you'll take one day. But one day never comes until you stop running from discomfort. Discomfort is the price of progress. Nothing worth having will ever come without fear tagging along for the ride. But you must stop letting it sit in the driver's seat. You must rise up and decide that your dreams matter more than your doubts. The most powerful moments in your life will always be the ones where you moved forward despite the fear. The moment you put yourself out there, the moment you said yes before you knew how, the moment you dared to try and risk being seen. Those moments are not the exception. They must become the rule, because the world is not changed by those who play it safe. It is changed by those who feel the fear and move anyway. You cannot wait for fear to disappear before you take action. It never will. It is only through action that fear dissolves. Every step forward weakens its grip. Every act of courage, no matter how small, silences its voice. Fear is loudest right before the breakthrough. That's how you know you're close. That's how you know it matters. You are not here to live a half life. You are not here to tiptoe around your potential. You are here to expand, to rise, to defy your limits, and to become more than even you believed possible. But that will never happen if you keep choosing comfort over courage. Comfort is the enemy of greatness, and fear is its guard dog. Every time you run from fear, you reinforce the belief that you are not ready. But you are ready, not because you have all the answers, but because you have the heart to try, the willingness to stand in the fire of uncertainty and not flinch. So when fear rises in your chest and tells you to stop, remind yourself, my next breakthrough lies behind this. Right here, on the other side of this moment, that is where everything changes. You do not need to eliminate fear. You only need to stop giving it the final say. Your power is not in your ability to feel fearless, it's in your decision to move anyway. You will not be defined by what you avoided. You will be remembered for what you faced. The next version of you, the stronger, wiser, bolder version, is waiting, and it's only one brave step away. The successful feel fear, but act anyway. They do not wait for the fear to vanish before they begin. They do not wait for perfect timing or total certainty or the guarantee of a smooth path. They recognize that fear is part of the process, not a signal to stop, but a sign to move. It means they are stepping into territory where growth is possible, where challenge lives, where something meaningful is at stake. Fear is not something they seek to eliminate. It is something they learn to walk beside. It may rise in their chest, it may whisper in their mind, but it does not stop their feet from moving. Action is the weapon they use to overcome it, not avoidance. Fear tells you to protect yourself, to stay where it's safe, to keep everything as it is. But safety can be a prison. Comfort can be a cage. People who succeed understand that nothing extraordinary has ever come from comfort zones. Growth does not occur where things are easy. It occurs when you face resistance, when you move through discomfort, when you do the thing that scares you, over and over again, until the fear no longer holds power over you. Every time you act in spite of fear, you train your mind to trust your strength more than your doubt. There is no secret formula to courage. It is simply the decision to keep going even when you are afraid. The difference between those who live the life they want and those who don't is not talent, not luck, not connections. It is the willingness to move forward while being scared. Everyone feels fear, but not everyone is ruled by it. The successful choose to act because their vision is louder than their hesitation. Their purpose is stronger than their excuses. They do not pretend fear doesn't exist. They acknowledge it, stare it down, and move anyway. Fear might always be present, but so is your power, so is your choice, so is your ability to rise and respond. Too many people believe they must wait until they feel ready. But readiness is a myth. You become ready in the doing, not in the waiting. Clarity comes through movement, not meditation alone. Action creates momentum, and momentum silences fear. Every courageous step you take makes the next one easier. That is how confidence is built, not from avoiding fear, but from proving to yourself that you can survive it. There will be voices, some external, some internal, telling you to slow down, to stay small, to wait. But none of those voices carry the weight of your potential. None of them know what you're capable of. Only you do. Only you know what dream keeps you awake at night. Only you know the desire that refuses to fade. And you owe it to yourself to chase it, not just when it feels easy, but especially when it feels scary, because that's when it matters most. Each time you act in spite of fear, you shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hesitates and start seeing yourself as someone who leads. You become the kind of person who does hard things, who doesn't back down, who doesn't fold under pressure. And that shift changes everything. It shapes your choices, your habits, your future. You stop being defined by fear and start being defined by courage. The successful feel fear, but act anyway. They feel the nerves, the tension, the uncertainty, but they do not let those things decide their fate. They choose movement, they choose belief, they choose action, and in that choice they break through barriers that once seemed impossible. That is the difference, that is the mindset, and that is available to you right now. Not someday, not when you're ready, but now. Feel the fear and move anyway. Purpose and persistence destroy fear's grip. When you have a clear sense of purpose, a vision that burns deep within you, fear begins to lose its influence. Purpose is the anchor that holds you steady when uncertainty rages around you. It gives you something stronger to focus on than the noise of doubt and the discomfort of the unknown. Purpose is not just a goal or an ambition. It is the reason you keep going when everything in you wants to quit. When you are deeply connected to a purpose, fear becomes too small to matter. It still exists, it still speaks, but its voice no longer commands your decisions. You begin to see fear for what it really is, a reaction, not a ruler. Persistence is what gives purpose its power. Purpose alone can burn out if it's not backed by consistent, deliberate action. Persistence is the force that keeps pushing, the energy that refuses to stop, the quiet determination to keep showing up day after day, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when it feels like nothing is working. Persistence is not flashy, It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't depend on motivation or ideal conditions. It is built on discipline. It is built on belief. It is the invisible work behind every visible success. When fear tries to convince you to give up, persistence answers with action. It says, "I hear you, but I'm moving forward anyway." That kind of response slowly breaks the cycle of fear. The more you persist, the less fear controls you. It may still be present, but it stops being the dominant emotion. It becomes background noise to the rhythm of your effort. Most people give up too soon because they mistake resistance for a sign to turn back. But resistance is not a signal to stop. It is proof that you are moving towards something meaningful. Every great achievement is guarded by obstacles. That is the price of progress. The combination of purpose and persistence is what allows you to keep paying that price willingly. You do not overcome fear by fighting it directly. You overcome it by focusing on what matters more. When your mind is locked onto a powerful why, there is no room for paralyzing hesitation. You begin to operate from conviction instead of emotion. Emotion may fluctuate, fear may rise, but conviction stays. That conviction is what guides you through storms, through rejection, through setbacks and delays. Persistence turns that conviction into motion. It turns intention into momentum. You may not always feel brave. You may not always feel strong. But if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up for your purpose day after day, something changes inside you. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start saying, "Nothing will stop me." You stop fearing failure because you understand that setbacks are part of the path. You stop doubting yourself because you have built a record of resilience. That record becomes your foundation. That persistence becomes your identity. You are no longer someone who waits for courage. You become someone who moves forward because you believe in what you're doing more than you fear the outcome. The world does not belong to those who avoid fear. It belongs to those who are led by purpose and driven by persistence. Fear will always exist in some form, but when your purpose is clear and your persistence is strong, fear no longer gets to decide who you are or how far you go. You become unstoppable, not because you never doubt, but because you never stop. That is the power of purpose. That is the power of persistence, and together they are stronger than fear will ever be. You are born to rise, not shrink. Claim your power. This is not just a phrase to remember. It is a truth to live by. Somewhere along the way, many people begin to forget who they really are. Life happens. Setbacks come. Criticism cuts deep. Fear grows louder, and little by little they begin to shrink. Not just in ambition, but in belief, in voice, in action. They lower their standards, abandon their dreams, and settle for less than what they are capable of. They begin to convince themselves that maybe they are not meant to rise, that maybe comfort is enough, that maybe dreaming big is only for a select few, but that is a lie. It's a story that fear tells. The truth is, every person is born with power, untapped, undeniable power, and it is not the world's job to give it to you. It is your job to claim it. Claiming your power is not about arrogance or ego. It is about finally accepting that you have the right to take up space, to speak up, to lead, to change things, to become the person you feel called to be. You were never meant to live your life on mute. You were never meant to stand in the shadows of your own potential. That voice inside you, the one that wants more, that believes more is possible, is not wrong. It is the real you. The world may have taught you to silence that voice, to trade boldness for safety, to keep your dreams small so you won't be disappointed. But your soul knows better. You were made to rise, not just once. Not just occasionally, but constantly. Growth is your nature. Expansion is your purpose. Rising means saying no to playing small. It means refusing to be defined by past mistakes or limitations. It means standing up even when you feel shaky. It means showing up for yourself again and again, even when the world gives you every reason to give up. It means no longer seeking permission to be great, no longer waiting for someone to choose you, to validate you, to tell you it's okay. It is okay. You get to decide that. You get to be the one who chooses you. When you begin to claim your power, something shifts. You no longer tolerate what drains you. You no longer apologize for your ambition. You no longer hide the parts of yourself that used to scare others. You stop shrinking to fit into rooms that were never built for you. You begin to trust your instincts, to own your voice, to believe that you have something valuable to offer. And you do, you always have, but you must step into that truth. You must act as if it is already true, because it is. The journey of rising is not easy. You will face resistance, not just from others, but from within. Doubt will whisper, fear will shout, insecurity will try to pull you back down, but you must remember that those voices are not you. They are echoes of the past, remnants of stories that no longer serve you. You are not here to repeat those stories. You are here to write a new one, a bigger one built not on fear, but on power, on truth, on belief. The moment you decide to rise, the moment you stop waiting and start moving, the world begins to shift. Not because the world changes first, but because you do, your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your strength multiplies, and little by little, what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. That is the power of claiming who you are. That is what it means to rise. You are not meant to shrink to fit a life that no longer reflects your worth. You are meant to expand, to lead, to shine. You are born to rise, so rise. Faith, not fear, is the foundation of all achievement. Every great journey begins with a belief. Belief in yourself, belief in a purpose greater than the challenge, belief that what you seek is already possible. Fear will always try to insert itself into the beginning of that journey. It will offer excuses disguised as logic. It will whisper that now is not the right time, that you are not ready, that success belongs to other people, but none of that is true. Fear builds nothing. Fear creates nothing. Fear protects nothing but comfort and stagnation. Faith, on the other hand, moves mountains. Faith turns ideas into reality. Faith is the silent engine that powers all progress. It is invisible, but it creates visible results. It is not a guarantee that everything will go perfectly, but it is a promise to yourself that you will continue anyway, that you will keep going, that you will trust the process even when you don't yet see the outcome. People often confuse faith with certainty, but faith is not about knowing exactly what will happen. It is about choosing to begin even when the path ahead is unclear. It is about trusting that your steps matter even when they feel small. Faith is built in moments when you act without all the answers, when you take the leap before the net appears. And every time you do that, you grow stronger. You prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. You learn that progress doesn't come from avoiding fear, it comes from having faith that you will figure it out along the way. That is what achievement is built on, not perfect conditions, not the absence of fear, but a deep and quiet commitment to keep going because you believe something better is ahead. Fear will try to keep you safe, but in doing so, it keeps you small. It will point to your past, to your failures, to every reason you should not try. But faith pulls you forward. It focuses on what is possible, not what has already happened. It teaches you to see obstacles as part of the path, not as dead ends. When you are grounded in faith, you stop needing guarantees and start taking responsibility. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. You begin to act not because you feel brave, but because you feel called. And in doing so, you begin to rewrite the story of what is possible. Faith fuels discipline. It helps you stay consistent when results are slow. It reminds you that effort matters even when no one is watching. It gives meaning to the hard days, the quiet work, the hours spent building something no one else sees yet. Fear will always look for proof before it acts. Faith acts to create the proof. Faith takes the first step before the entire staircase is visible. That is how people achieve anything worth having. They don't wait until they feel ready. They move because they trust that readiness will meet them on the journey. In the end, every achievement is a reflection of the battles you fought internally, between doubt and belief, between fear and faith. And those who achieve the most are not the ones who felt the least fear, but the ones who chose faith more often. Faith is the daily decision to believe that your dreams are valid, that your voice matters, that your life is meant to be lived fully. It is the refusal to let fear write your story. So if you want to achieve something meaningful, start with faith, grow it, guard it, lean into it, because faith, not fear, is what builds greatness. Faith is what lifts you. Faith is what carries you through the darkness and into the light of who you were always meant to become.